St. Louis. Missouri is a beautiful city with a thriving economy, great schools, and some amazing haunted houses. Today, we are going to be looking at one of the most haunted houses in the state. This home is said to be so haunted that even the bravest of ghost hunters fear entering it. This is the eerie legend of the Lemp Mansion. In the 1800s, lager was a major player in the production of beer. German immigrants were known for their incredible brewing abilities. And when they came to America, they brought this talent with them. But they also had an unfortunate habit of bringing along some family members who shouldn't have come. One such person was Wilhelm Kelch, who immigrated to St. Louis with his wife and 5 children. However, he also brought along his brother, Adam, who suffered from schizophrenia. Once the family got settled in St. Louis, they opened up a small tavern. It wasn't long before they realized that Adam was a danger to the business and to himself, so they sent him back to Germany. Unfortunately, Adam was unable to make the journey and died aboard the ship. Before long, Wilhelm received a letter informing him of his brother's death. The letter also informed him that his brother's body would be shipped back to the United States for burial. A few months later, another ship arrived in St. Louis with a coffin on board. The people unloading the ship noticed that it was very heavy. They asked the ship's captain why this was, but he claimed to not know. He had only been hired to transport the coffin and did not know anything else about it. With no other options, Wilhelm accepted the delivery of the coffin and went to bury it in the Jewish cemetery. When he arrived at the cemetery, he was confronted by the sexton, who told him that the graves were full and that he would have to wait until someone died so that he could use their grave. Not wanting to wait, Wilhelm decided to dig his own grave for his brother. He worked through the night, and by the next morning had a grave dug and the coffin lowered inside. When the sun began to rise, Wilhelm noticed that there were 2 graves instead of the one he had dug. In a panic, he tried to climb out of the grave, but the sides caved in and he was trapped. The sexton found Wilhelm the next day and used a mattock to pry open the graves and rescue the man. Sadly, his brother's body was decomposed and could not be recovered. Wilhelm never recovered from his ordeal and spent his final years catatonic. He died a few years later and was buried next to his brother in the Jewish cemetery. Little did he know that his brother's spirit would soon become angry. In 1879, William's son, Eberhard, inherited a large amount of money from his uncle in Germany. He decided to use this money to build a mansion in the suburbs of St. Louis. Eberhard hired architect Edward C. Barrett to design for him a massive Italianate-style mansion. The house boasted ornate architecture with intricate details both inside and outside the house. There were 21 rooms spread out over 4 floors. It didn't take long for the mansion to become the talk of the town. People would drive by just to get a glimpse of the beautiful property and the parties that were held there. Eberly hosted lavish parties, inviting more than 300 guests to tour his brand new home. While the tours were happening, his servants would cater food and drinks to the guests while they marveled at the home's beauty. Unfortunately, the festivities came to a sudden halt when Eberly's wife passed away suddenly. Grief-stricken, he decided to leave the city and abandoned his mansion. When he left, he made sure to lock up and boarded up the windows. For the next 20 years, the mansion sat vacant, slowly falling apart. As time passed, rumors began to spread about what happened to Eberly Lambe. Some say he died in a car crash. Others say he took his own life. The truth is that he lived until 1914, when he died of natural causes in San Francisco. Before he died, he made arrangements for his estate to be liquidated and the house to be sold. After all these years, the house finally had new owners. A wealthy widow purchased the home and planned to fix it up and move right in. However, she never got the chance. As she was overseeing renovations, she experienced strange phenomena. She would hear footsteps above her, and items would go missing and then reappear in strange places. After several months of living in the home, she fell ill and was forced to move into a nursing home where she eventually passed away. The house changed hands again, and once again the new owner planned to fix it up and live in the home. However, she only lasted a few weeks before she too became ill and had to move out. Word spread about how dangerous the house was and no one wanted to buy it. The house continued to sit vacant, and by the 1950s, it was completely abandoned. In 1960, the house was purchased by a local historical society, who finally opened the house to the public. Tours were offered every day, and visitors were welcome to come and see the beautiful mansion. However, the staff quickly learned that there was more to the house than its beautiful architecture. On one occasion, a woman wandered off during a tour and ended up in the basement. She told the staff that she had heard a voice that called out to her, and she followed it to the basement. She had no memory of how she got down the stairs or how long she was in the basement. Another time, a young girl wandered off during a tour. She walked into the master bedroom and refused to come back out. The staff went into the room to find her and discovered that she was sitting on the bed crying. When they asked her why she was crying, she told them that she had seen a little girl in a Victorian nightgown walking down the hallway. Then she vanished. One of the scariest occurrences happened to a security guard who was working the night shift. He was sitting in the front office when he heard chains dragging metal moans. He dismissed it and went back to watching TV. That's when the apparition of an old man dragging himself closer and closer appeared. The guard ran out of the house and hid in his car. When he returned to the house the next morning, he found scratch marks all over the front door. This is just a few of the many terrifying encounters that have happened at the Lemp Mansion. Is the house cursed? What do you think? Today, the Lemp Mansion continues to operate as a bed and breakfast. The owners claim that there is not a single room in the house that doesn't have a ghost. Most of the ghosts seem friendly, but there are a few that are said to be quite territorial. When guests check in, they are warned to stay out of the basement at all costs. There is also one room that guests are never allowed to book. This is because it has the highest concentration of paranormal activity. It is rumored that the ghost of Eberhard Lambe haunts this room, searching for his lost love. Many famous ghost hunters have visited the mansion, including the Ghost Adventures crew. During their investigation, they uncovered some disturbing information about the house. Zach Bagans and Aaron Goodwin were investigating the basement when they heard a loud bang. It sounded like a metal bucket being dropped onto the concrete floor. When they investigated, they found that no bucket had been dropped. Later, they would discover a similar bucket in one of the bedrooms, which they believed may have fallen. But there was something else that piqued their interest. While investigating the basement, they noticed a series of symbols scratched into the concrete floor. These symbols looked similar to alchemy symbols, which are used to represent elements and compounds. After doing some research, they found that the symbols matched those of the ingredients used in a potion to control the dead. They believe that whoever created these symbols in the concrete may have had some connection to the occult. While here, Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas were staying in the mansion, and they used the basement as inspiration for one of their songs. Other ghost hunters have had just as much success. A paranormal investigator named Sue Grafton once stayed overnight in the house. She was investigating the room that sits above the basement. Suddenly, she was awoken in the middle of the night by the sound of singing. She got out of bed and investigated, but she found nothing. However, when she returned to bed, she was awoken again by the sound of singing. She turned on the lights and saw the apparition of a man standing in the corner of the room. She snapped a photo before the man disappeared. When she developed the film, she found that the image of the man was imprinted on the negative. The Lemp Mansion continues to be one of the most haunted houses in St. Louis. If you ever visit, be sure to keep your eyes open. You never know what you might see. Thank you for watching. Would you dare spend a night in the Lemp Mansion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're there, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out on any of our future videos. Stay safe, and we will see you next time.